Most people think fatigue, rising blood pressure, or restless nights are just aging. But in reality, ignoring these signs can be dangerous because they may be the first warnings of problems that can still be corrected. So in this episode, we're going to uncover how a single forgotten leaf can reshape the way you think about everyday health struggles. Welcome back to the Senior Health Podcast. Today we're exploring the remarkable potential of avocado leaves, a tradition deeply rooted in Japan and trusted for centuries for circulation, sleep, and digestion. Because the danger is that too many seniors dismiss these struggles as inevitable aging, when often the cause is simpler and the solution closer than they realize. So sitting across from me today is someone who has seen these patterns for more than a century. At well over 100 years old and still treating daily, Japan's oldest practicing physician is back with us again, sharing his knowledge to help us thrive longer. Doctor, it's a pleasure, like always.
Thank you, John. So let's look at a study in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology that showed that extracts from avocado leaves lowered blood pressure in older adults by helping blood vessels relax. Yet how many people continue to suffer year after year with high blood pressure, restless nights, or heavy digestion, simply because no one ever told them these leaves could help?
That's striking, because it shows how something as ordinary as a leaf can have measurable effects on the body, and it makes me wonder how many simple remedies are being overlooked every day. So a question to everyone listening. Tell us in the comments whether you have ever found that the solution to a long-standing problem turned out to be far simpler than you expected.
What you're describing is exactly the trap so many fall into. Fatigue, bloating, and sleepless nights get dismissed as normal aging, when in truth they're often signs of inflammation or circulatory stress. Because these symptoms overlap with aging, they're easily misdiagnosed, and people end up on treatments that never address the root. So in this episode, we'll shine a light on what's been overlooked. We'll cover what avocado leaves contain, the key ways they can support health after 60, how to prepare them safely, and the common mistakes that turn a remedy into a risk. Stay with us until the end, because we'll also reveal the one mistake people make with avocado leaf tea that can actually raise their health risks instead of lowering them, and how to avoid it.
So what you're really saying is that the problems seniors feel are real, but if we misunderstand the cause, we risk reaching for the wrong solution.
Exactly. And that is why today we're going to walk through the science, the traditions, the cautions, and the practical steps, so that by the end every listener will know how to use or avoid avocado leaves with confidence.
I remember visiting my grandmother's garden as a boy, and I can still see her sweeping away the fallen avocado leaves without a second thought. She never knew those same leaves might have eased the swelling in her ankles or the long nights she spent awake staring at the ceiling. Years later, I met patients who carried pill bottles for every symptom, yet still asked me why their blood pressure or digestion never truly felt under control.
John, it's often the things closest to us that we overlook the most, even when they could have made daily life gentler.
Which brings us to the real question we need to unpack today. What exactly is inside these leaves that could explain such powerful effects?
Inside those leaves, we find a pharmacy written by nature itself. They carry antioxidants like polyphenols, which shield our cells from gradual wear, flavonoids that ease inflammation while supporting circulation, and quercetin, which works both as an anti-inflammatory and as a quiet defender against microbes. What is remarkable is how these compounds, often studied in laboratories across Japan and the United States, overlap with the very issues seniors struggle with daily: pressure, pain, digestion, and rest.
That almost sounds like the leaf is designed for older bodies that are worn down in those exact ways.
It feels that way, though in truth it is our bodies that evolved to recognize and use what nature offers. When you brew the leaf gently, The volatile oils released can calm the nervous system, while the tannins act on the gut lining, giving a real sense of relief rather than just masking discomfort.
So this isn't just folklore, it has biochemical roots that match real conditions.
Correct. And what matters most is how those compounds interact in harmony, not in isolation. Modern pharmacology often tries to extract one molecule, but the synergy inside a natural infusion is what provides the gentler, more balanced effect.
And that synergy may be why people feel better, even if the studies are still catching up to explain it.
Yes, and importantly, not every person will respond the same way. Genetics, diet, and medications already being used can tilt the outcome toward benefit or toward risk, which is why we never speak in absolutes.
So even with something natural, the same cup of tea could be helpful for one senior, but troublesome for another.
Exactly. That is why careful use and awareness of your own body's response matter so deeply. The science offers clues, but the lived experience of the patient is the final word.
It makes me think of the seniors listening right now who've tried one miracle remedy after another, only to be disappointed or even harmed. This is where balance matters, not falling into blind belief that natural means safe, and not dismissing tradition because it sounds too simple. And that's why I want us to go step by step through the real outcomes seniors care about most: circulation, sleep, digestion, pain, immunity, so we can separate exaggeration from genuine possibility.
One of the first outcomes supported by both traditional practice and modern observation is circulation. The flavonoids and natural potassium inside avocado leaves help blood vessels relax, which allows the heart to move blood with less resistance. For seniors, that can translate into lower pressure readings and fewer moments of feeling lightheaded when standing.
But lowering pressure too much could be just as dangerous, right? Especially for someone already on medication.
Exactly, which is why we stress moderation and awareness. A mild cup may support gentle relaxation, but doubling or tripling the dose could push the pressure down further than is safe.
That's a nuance many miss when they hear natural tea. They assume more is always better.
And in truth, nature rarely works that way. These remedies are closer to whispers than to shouts, and it is the quiet daily rhythm that creates stability, not the heavy hand of excess.
So you're saying it's the consistency, not the intensity, that matters most here.
Yes, precisely. Think of it like walking. A steady pace over months builds endurance, while sprinting recklessly may only cause harm.
And yet many seniors want immediate results. They're tired of restless nights and swollen ankles, and they hope a single cup will change everything overnight.
That impatience is understandable, but it is also where disappointment begins. These leaves support the body. They do not replace it. True change comes when the leaf works alongside rest, diet, and existing care.
It reminds me of how often listeners write in saying, "I tried a natural remedy, it didn't work, so I gave up." The truth is, maybe it wasn't the remedy itself, but the way it was used or the expectations placed on it. Which is why, as we move forward, I'd like us to explore not only what the science confirms, but also the common mistakes people make, so our listeners know both what to embrace and what to avoid.
Another area where the leaves show promise is sleep and relaxation. The essential oils released during steeping act gently on the nervous system, calming racing thoughts and softening the tension in muscles. For seniors who lie awake at night, this can mean the difference between restless hours and truly restorative rest.
But can a simple leaf infusion really compare to the effect of a prescribed sleep aid?
Not in raw strength, John, but that is precisely the advantage. Where medications may impose sleep, the leaf encourages it, allowing the body to drift rather than be forced.
So it's not sedation, it's more like nudging the body back into its own rhythm.
Yes, a quiet reset, one that avoids the risk of dependency or grogginess the next morning. And because it works subtly, many find they awaken clearer, not clouded.
I imagine that's a huge benefit for older adults who fear falls at night if they wake up disoriented.
Absolutely. And this is where tradition and safety meet. A small nightly ritual with the tea offers calm without robbing alertness, something medications often cannot promise.
Still, I can hear some listeners wondering if relying on a leaf each night is truly addressing the root of their insomnia.
And that question is wise because the leaf is a support, not a cure. Poor sleep can come from pain, stress, or even hidden medical issues. The tea helps, but the cause must still be understood.
That makes me think of how many of our seniors chase solutions in isolation, not realizing their digestion, sleep, and circulation are often linked. It's one of the most powerful insights from these traditions. The body is not a collection of separate complaints, but a whole system. And so as we go forward, I'd like us to explore how these leaves touch another system seniors struggle with daily, digestion, and why bloating, gas, or heaviness after meals may not be just age, but a sign the body is asking for balance.
When we turn to digestion, the story becomes even clearer. The tannins and flavonoids in avocado leaves soothe the lining of the gut, reducing irritation that often shows up as bloating or cramping. At the same time, they encourage better enzyme activity, helping seniors process meals more comfortably.
So the heaviness many people feel after eating isn't always just about overeating. Sometimes it's the gut crying out for balance.
Exactly, and that discomfort is too often blamed on getting older instead of a subtle inflammation. A simple infusion after a meal can calm the intestinal muscles, easing the pressure and gas that make evenings so unpleasant.
But can one cup of tea really make a noticeable difference, or is that more of a gradual effect?
For some, the relief can be felt almost immediately as the spasms relax. For others, it's cumulative, a matter of reducing the background irritation so digestion becomes smoother over days or weeks.
That distinction matters, because many listeners will want to know if they should expect quick results or give it time.
And the truth is, both are possible. The body responds differently depending on the depth of the irritation and how consistently support is given.
That makes me think of seniors who reach for antacids every night, not realizing they may be covering symptoms instead of calming the source.
Yes, and while antacids can have their place, they don't address the underlying inflammation. The leaves, used wisely, offer a gentler approach that works with the body rather than against it.
It's striking to realize how a leaf falling in the yard could carry so much relief for people suffering in silence. And yet it also raises the question of what happens when pain moves beyond the stomach and into the joints, another place where seniors often feel trapped between daily pills and daily pain. Which is why I think our next step is to examine how these same leaves may ease the stiffness of arthritis and restore a bit of freedom to movement.
When it comes to joints and mobility, avocado leaves carry compounds that act as mild anti-inflammatories. They reduce the chemical signals that keep tissues swollen, which is why people with arthritis or rheumatism sometimes notice less stiffness after consistent use. Even warm compresses made from the steeped leaves can bring relief directly to aching knees or hands.
But isn't joint pain one of those things doctors often tell seniors they just have to live with?
Sadly, yes, it is often framed that way. Yet, what I've seen is that small, steady supports, whether from food, movement, or gentle remedies, can make the difference between struggling to rise from a chair and moving with more ease.
So instead of promising a cure, the goal here is simply to lessen the daily weight of pain.
Exactly, and even a 10% improvement can restore the will to walk, garden, or dance a little, which in turn protects strength and independence. This ripple effect is often more powerful than the initial relief itself.
And that ripple brings us naturally to another system seniors care deeply about, the eyes and kidneys, organs often under quiet attack from oxidative stress. Let's open the door into how these leaves may play a role in protecting them before damage goes too far.
Oxidative stress quietly wears down organs like the eyes and kidneys, often long before symptoms appear. The antioxidants in avocado leaves act like shields, reducing the cellular damage that leads to cataracts or even kidney strain. By calming this process, seniors may preserve sharper vision and healthier filtration for longer.
But many people only notice these problems once the damage is advanced. Can something so simple truly delay that?
It can contribute, yes, especially when paired with other healthy habits. Think of it as a layer of protection added early, keeping the body from sliding faster into decline.
So rather than reversing disease, it's more about slowing the clock and preserving what's still strong.
That's the most realistic way to view it. Prevention through the steady defense often spares people from bigger battles later, and the leaf's compounds support that mission.
And when we talk about defense, we can't ignore the immune system, the front line for every senior who wants to stay resilient. Which makes this the perfect moment to ask how these leaves might strengthen those defenses before illness even sets in.
The immune system is like a watchman that never sleeps, and in seniors it often grows tired, making infections harder to resist. The polyphenols and natural compounds in avocado leaves help reduce background inflammation, freeing the immune cells to work more efficiently. Over time, this means fewer lingering colds, faster recovery, and a body less prone to constant low-grade illness.
But could a tea really make that much of a difference when someone's immune system is already weakened by age?
It will not replace vaccinations or critical medical care, John, but it can give the system breathing room. By lowering the constant burden of oxidative stress, these leaves allow defenses to rise to challenges more effectively.
So it's more about giving the immune system back some energy it has lost, rather than giving it new strength out of nowhere.
Exactly. And that distinction matters. Supporting what still works is often more valuable than chasing miracles that promise to rebuild what time has already changed.
And with that in mind, I think this is the perfect moment to shift from theory into practice. How seniors can actually prepare this tea at home in a way that preserves its benefits, avoids common mistakes, and turns fallen leaves into a safe daily ritual.
The preparation is simple but precise. The leaves must be washed carefully, then steeped in hot water after the flame is turned off, never boiled directly. This preserves the essential oils and delicate compounds that bring the calming anti-inflammatory effect.
So many people would probably just throw the leaves into boiling water. Does that destroy the good parts?
It can, yes, because boiling too harshly drives away the very oils that help with sleep and digestion. Covering the cup during steeping is just as important, since it traps those vapors and returns them to the infusion.
That tiny detail could be the difference between a soothing cup and a weak, disappointing one.
Exactly. And seniors especially deserve to get the full value for their effort. Adding a touch of cinnamon or lemon peel is fine, but the base must always be handled gently.
And of course, the question people will ask next is not just how to prepare it, but how much, how often, and what happens if they take it alongside their medications. Which means our next step has to be a careful conversation about safety and interactions.
Safety is where many natural remedies rise or fall. Avocado leaves should be limited to 1, at most 2 cups a day, and never for more than 2 weeks straight without a pause. Beyond that, they can interact with medications for blood pressure, diabetes, or blood thinning, making close attention essential.
So even though it feels natural, it still carries the same need for caution as any prescribed drug.
That's right, John. Pregnant or breastfeeding women should avoid them, and anyone with advanced kidney disease should be especially careful, since too much could irritate already fragile organs.
And yet many seniors might think, it's just tea, how could it harm me?
That is the very misconception we must correct. Natural does not mean harmless, and the wise path is to use tradition with the same respect you give a prescription bottle.
Which is why our listeners will need guidance, not just on dangers, but also on the most common mistakes people make when preparing or using these leaves, and the smarter practices that can help them truly benefit.
The mistakes I see most often are boiling the leaves too aggressively or drinking them endlessly without breaks. The smarter practice is to treat the tea as a seasonal support, used gently and with awareness, not as a daily crutch for life.
It reminds me of how often seniors ask me if a single superfood can save them, when in truth it's the balance of habits that matters most. We've seen tonight that these leaves are powerful, but they belong inside a bigger picture of movement, nutrition, and care. And before we close, could I ask you to leave our listeners with one line of wisdom they can carry into their own kitchens?
John, the line I would leave is this: let the leaf be your ally, not your master. In other words, allow it to support you, but never hand over all responsibility for your health to a single cup.
That's the kind of clarity people rarely hear, and it's why your voice is so valuable here. To our listeners, if you've ever swept away avocado leaves without knowing their potential, perhaps tonight you'll see them differently. Let us know in the comments whether you finished this episode, and if you have subscribed to our new channel. See you in the next one.